The following is a production of the Ultimate Fantasy Sports Network.
Hello and welcome to another edition. I was going to say UFBA today or UFAFL now, but the truth is this is a kind of unique broadcast here on Twitch as we are going to do a little bit of, what are we going to call it, Andy? NFL free agency recapping. I'm Alli.
Yeah, prime time.
Yeah, exactly.
Prime time football.
I like that. Prime time football here on UFFF Sports Twitch stream. I'm Alli, head of sport operations for basketball, and this is Andy McNamara alongside me, head of sports for football. How's it going, Andy?
Doing good, buddy. Look, I got my UFAFL, my Sharp merch.
I like it.
All out here. Reversible cups. So you can head to the UFFsports.com merch shop, get your coffee mug. I'm hawking stuff already, show. But feeling good, brother. Listen, the NFL, it truly never sleeps, and it just keeps getting crazier. Usually it's free agency, but the amount of trades we've seen have just been ridiculous.
Yeah, it's been crazy, right? It has been a wild free agency period. It's kind of funny, like the NHL trade deadline was yesterday, right? And I dare say the biggest trade that went down yesterday during the trade deadline, like on Monday, the 21st of March, was Matt Ryan getting traded to the Colts, right? Like I'd like to say it was Marc-Andre Fleury. I'd like to say it was going to the Wild, or Andrew Kopp getting traded from the Jets to the Rangers. Honestly, it was Matt Ryan getting dealt for a third-round pick to the Indianapolis Colts, which is kind of fun. All of the big trades in the NHL happened on Sunday, and then the deadline itself was kind of boring. But the biggest trade yesterday absolutely was Matt Ryan. Matty Ice to the Colts, I gotta say, I've said this to you many, many times, but I have felt that like he got the shaft. I've always felt like in Atlanta, especially over the last couple of years since the Super Bowl era kind of ended. So yeah, I'm happy to see him move on somewhere, which is kind of cool. But it's cool to be able to talk about this, the NFL free agency, the offseason, the fantasy implications of it all, not just for UFF sports, but for fantasy football in general, no matter what your format is, right here on Twitch. It's the first time we're ever getting to do this.
That's right. That was pretty cool. And it's all ties in, of course, eventually to the Ultimate Fantasy American Football League, UFAFL. Yeah. The Legends League is going, the American Football Legends League at AFLL.live. And the College League, we'll talk about a little bit later, that's going to be auctioned off, 24 franchises at the end of April. But, Joe, I got to say, you mentioned the hockey league. Quick aside. Okay. I'm sure you saw the Maple Leafs' new reversible jerseys. Those are the worst things I've ever seen. Those are the worst freaking things. I got angry. I got upset looking at those god-awful jerseys. What? There's a reversible it's black and yellow and smiley face? What?
You know what? It's funny.
It looks ridiculous.
You're not talking about like the Heritage Classic jerseys, right?
No, the one Austin Matthews did, and then he did the little TikTok flippy thing, and then it was Mitch Marner had that stupid black. Just, folks, if you haven't, you know what, maybe don't if you haven't eaten yet. It makes you sick to your stomach. It was the stupidest looking thing, and I got upset about it.
You're funny.
Sorry, that's done.
I'm going to get you one of those for your birthday. We're going to ship you one.
God.
That's what's going to happen. We're going to wear it to Vegas. When you go to Vegas at the end of April, you can wear it to show all of our American friends in Vegas.
Listen, I'll drown it in the stadium swim when we're there at staying at Circa. I'll get that jersey. Terrible. Just awful. But no, listen, you're right. Matt Ryan, third-round pick, and then the Atlanta Falcons made history with having to eat the most dead cat money in NFL history. It's interesting because then they moved on to Marcus Mariota, which then leads me to think they'd have to be focusing on somebody in the draft. They'd have to be focusing on one of those quarterbacks.
Yeah, there's Matty Ice. I don't know if you can see this, Andy, but Matty Ice in his new Colts uniform, his new this is from The Ringer. I'm shamelessly I'm stealing it from them. I'm gonna give credit to The Ringer because they do some fantastic graphics work. But a nice little preview of Matty Ice in a Colts uniform. It's just kind of funny, right? I'm going to
move the computer a little closer to me so I'm not looking totally off screen because I have the Twitch feed up here.
There you go.
Just so it's not as off to the side.
But yeah, so Matty Ice, Andy, you mentioned it, the massive cap hit. It's crazy to think that the NFL, I mean, I guess you can kind of say this for, I guess any sport that has a salary cap, but it just kind of seems like the salary cap is fake, right? Is fake. It's
yeah.
not real. They can kind of just do whatever they want. Like, you know what I mean? It just, they always say, oh, remember after the Rams won the Super Bowl this year, they were saying stuff like, the Rams are never going to be able to sign another free agent again, right? And then yeah, I don't know.
They're fine. Yeah, that's what I love. It's always a concern. And then, like, let's say the Browns with Amari Cooper. It's like the Browns turn his $20 million salary into a signing bonus.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and then it's gone. So then it's not a problem anymore because it's gone. So that's what's so weird about the salary cap. As long as you have a decent capologist, which I assume all NFL teams do, you can just make an unpleasant salary cap situation fine. You just go about your day. So it doesn't really matter. So it is very strange. But yeah, I would have to think for Atlanta, good for Matt Ryan to get out of that situation. So that offensive line stinks. We love ourselves Kyle Pitts when it comes to fantasy football, but man, it's just a bad scene. I'm thinking now, you put Matt Ryan, 36 years old. I think he's going to be 37. I think he's going to be turning 37 this year. Behind that Colts offensive line with Jonathan Taylor, you can take pressure off in the run game. You can chuck it up to Pittman. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Indianapolis.
It's funny, right? Because I want to say even just 2 seasons ago, Matt Ryan had thrown, I think it was something like, I want to say it was something like the most passes or the second most passes in the entire NFL. Okay, the most passing attempts in the entire NFL over the entire season, like last year or the year before, which is crazy, right? He's been doing better, I think, as of late. But I think, you and I have spoken about this before, kind of off the air. Just Matt Ryan behind that Atlanta offensive line, which is arguably the worst offensive line in the NFL. It's either them or Cincinnati, although Cincinnati just got Lyle Collins, so maybe not anymore with Cincinnati. But the Atlanta offensive line was abysmal, and now that I still think the Colts offensive line, like a couple guys left last year, and maybe they were living a little bit off of reputation, like for passing statistics. You know what I mean? Like they were completely fine, if not great, for the run game for Jonathan Taylor and those guys, right? But because we all know Jonathan Taylor was essentially in the MVP conversation yesterday, or yesteryear, I should say. But when it comes to Matt Ryan, you mentioned it, Pittman. Do you I know you're a big Jack Doyle guy. Are we looking for any boosts to any pass catchers statistically not named Michael Pittman Jr.?
You know what? It should be Mo Alley Cox. I think but I thought that last year, and then Carson Wentz somehow injured both ankles, which is still perplexing to me. How you can injure? Like, was he just like, well, I don't know, double crutches? He's just hopping on stilts. I'm not sure what happens there, but I think possibly this is a Mo Alley Cox bump up. However, we're going to have, and this is with any new quarterback situation, who's going to be Matt Ryan's guy outside of what we would assume would be Michael Pittman Jr. Yeah. Who's the secondary target? It might very well be Jack Doyle or Mo Alley Cox or somebody else. Zach Pascal's gone. So where do we see those secondary targets, as well as how does that run game get incorporated when you have a stationary, classic pocket passer in Matt Ryan who can stand back there and sling it? What type of pressure do they take off of him? So it really remains to be seen from a fantasy football perspective, and the value of Colts around him, what that game plan looks like.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to it. Did you see that tweet from, it was from Darius Leonard, I think, who is one of the Colts linebackers, and he was basically recruiting Julio Jones, asking Julio, oh, Matt Ryan has thrown you a bunch of yards and touchdowns. Come finish your career with Matty Ice in Indianapolis. Hey, look, they play indoors. A large portion of their schedule will likely be indoors. That's probably going to be more suited for Matt Ryan himself. But I know you're not super high on Julio Jones at this stage of his career, but it's not like if he goes to Indy, it's not like he's going to be seeing a high volume of passes, right? Like I feel like as it pertains to fantasy football, he's probably no matter where he goes, he's probably no more than a WR back end WR3 maybe at best, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah, I think so at best, probably. Like maybe even personally, I'll say maybe a flex, but to me personally, I don't want Julio Jones on my team anymore. He's done. He's done. Fantasy's done. I can't wait for Julio to go to Indianapolis and then be able to look each week show that there's that Q beside his name because his ankle's hurt.
Right.
Every week for like 5 years, every stinking week, there's a Q beside Julio's name, and you panic, and then he usually goes out and plays, except for last year. He's on the downside. He had a great career. Yeah, fantasy-wise, he's a non-factor. You know, some people are going to draft him just based on name recognition. But if you put it in a real-life football perspective, I think that a move like that on a friendly contract for Julio, that does make sense, because it could, whenever he does play, you have to at least still pay some attention to Julio Jones. Because when he's healthy, he can still go. He's just not healthy very often. So I do think it makes sense. Take a bit of pressure off of Pittman. Maybe the Colts draft a guy in the middle rounds. It's another deep wide receiver class. And maybe you bring somebody up a little slower than you would have to if you didn't have Julio.
I just want to say hello to Mike as well. I see on the chat there our pal Mike Pagano joining us here.
Mike.
Mike is one of the owners, right, Andy, in the UFAFL. That's correct, right?
Yes. Mike's owner of Doom, which has a sweet logo. And Joe, also a longtime listener of the fantasy show on Sportsnet, and also with me where I was previously to Sportsnet. It doesn't exist if I'm not there. And that's Michael's been a really loyal listener for a long time. And yeah, in on UFAFL with Team Doom. And boy, show for our Ultimate Fantasy American Football League. It's going to be really fun when the draft happens after the real life NFL draft, the draft auction in the UFAFL. So as we said, NFL never sleeps. UFAFL on UFFsports.com is the CP.
Hey, Mike, and anyone else out there, if you want to buy Quay Walker, Georgia linebacker Quay Walker, I'm your guy. It's just saying. I'm just saying.
A show making scout pitches I love it on the program. Yes. And you know what, Joe? Actually, a little bit later on, again, we'll go over with our new Ultimate College Fantasy Football League, which is sort of the completion of that football ecosystem on UFF Sports, because we have Legends League, which is running wild right now, UFAFL, which finished its first season, and now the college side. So your prospect there, if he wasn't entering the NFL this upcoming year, would earn you prize pool revenue in our college league, because now you're able to, as a scout, earn revenue off of the fantasy points that your prospect delivers. And if you're an owner, so if you're a scout and you buy a team in the college league, well, then you just get everything. So as a scout, it makes a lot of sense to get in and actually become an owner in the UCFFL.
I like it, yeah. Also, can I just say real quick, Andy, you and I deal with so many different Telegram chats and acronyms, a lot of acronyms. I think, honestly, it is incredibly impressive. Not just you, but all of the founders, like Tony and Andrea and all those guys. Like, I feel like I am in maybe like 4 dozen chats, and I can only imagine how many more chats Tony and those guys are in, right? Larry especially, right? Like, if Larry had a dime for every question that you and I have asked him over the past 8 months, he would legitimately be the richest man on earth. I swear to God.
Larry is our MVP, man. I'm telling you, he's I call him the consigliere of UFF Sports. He just knows everything about everything.
What was the name of the consigliere from The Godfather? Was it Tom or Thomas?
It was Tom.
Yeah.
It was Tom.
He's the Adam Duvall character, right? He's the Duvall character, Tom from The Godfather.
Yeah, or Silvio from Sopranos.
Yes, yeah, right. I can picture Larry saying, from this. I mean, it's from The Godfather as well, but they lampoon it in the Sopranos. Like, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in to another Telegram chat.
Yes. Oh, and then with each league, my first thought is like, oh no, I gotta say another Telegram chat. Oh God. So good. You have 4,000 missed messages. I'm just gonna break my phone.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Man, that's so good. I am looking forward to the college football league though, Andy. I know you guys are gonna. We're talking about that a little later on, but I know you and the guys. Who is there? Are you the commissioner of that league, or is there someone else who's gonna be like the actual commissioner?
Yeah. So we got. I sort of oversee all the football, and then we got Max Elliott who's gonna be
okay. Max is gonna role. Right.
Yeah. For college. So yeah, man, it's gonna be 24 franchises for sale. And we're working with, so you got to have a full roster going, and you got to draft your offense, the team offensive line. So it's going to be some really innovative stuff that we haven't seen in college fantasy football before.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, like I said, I got some players I've registered both for this year and next year. So I have some future players as well that I'm like really hoping. I think that I think I have one of the former Mississippi State running backs or Ole Miss, pardon me, running backs. Who I think he transferred or something. And I admit freely I registered him because he had a really cool name. So I'm hoping that hey, sometimes the cool names pan out in college. So I'm hoping whenever we get around to the college football league before, I guess college season tips off in like, I guess around the same time the NFL season tips off, maybe slightly before, right? Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, the NFL never sleeps, Andy, as we know, and the offseason moves continue to roll on, and I guess we can get to some of the ones that had happened, I guess, in the past week. It's crazy to think. So it's Tuesday today as we're recording this, and live on Twitch. And I guess just over a week ago, not this past Sunday, but the previous Sunday, Tom Brady decided to come back to the NFL. And I honestly thought that would be like the most momentous news of the next 7 days. And then like the dominoes began to fall, and it was like Aaron Rodgers gets a mega new contract. Davante Adams is traded to the Raiders and becomes the highest paid non-QB in the history of the NFL. You got Allen Robinson going to the Rams. You got a whole whack of moves, and then we talked about the Matt Ryan thing. I just can't believe how, like, the NFL offseason is always pretty crazy, but I can't believe how crazy it was this season.
It's been that way, Show, because of the quarterback situation, right? Yeah. And there's still more spots to be filled. What are the Carolina Panthers going to do? You're going to run it back with Sam Darnold? Like, the Panthers are really bad. I think Matt Rule's going to be back in college, coaching college sooner than later. You know, is it all his fault? Probably not. But, you know, I kind of feel that way. Seattle needs a quarterback. Yeah. Unless, Show, they really think that Drew Lock can hold down the fort for whatever rookie they draft. Because the only reason you make that Russell Wilson deal, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, is if you absolutely love a quarterback in this draft, which general consensus is this is not the strongest quarterback class that, you know, you can get starters, but it'd be better to have a guy who might be able to sit a year or maybe bring along a bit of a project or projection. There's not that Joe Burrow. There's not that Trevor Lawrence. It's not that sure guy that you're like, yeah, he's the one I definitely want. So Seattle must like somebody to show you cannot convince me. Yeah. You cannot convince me that their plan is like Drew Lock. Yeah. That's the guy.
DK Metcalf did the whole on Twitter. He was like, "Oh, I love Drew Lock. He's the best. He's my guy." Look, what a character guy, right? Character guy. And then look, Baker Mayfield's going to get traded there probably, and DK's going to be like, "Get me out of here. Get me to
get his dad.
Trade me to Cleveland. I want to play with Amari and Deshaun Watson."
He'll have to get it. Dad, can you contact Odell Beckham Jr.'s dad to figure out how to get the video editing software to make Ty like
Andy, look, I'm telling you, man, the GM of the year in 2021 was Odell Beckham Sr. He was the GM of the year. That guy, Odell Beckham, went to Los Angeles, promptly caught more touchdowns than he had in like 2.5 years as a Brown, and then won the Super Bowl.
And tore his ACL too.
That is true. But hey, look, look, just put it this way: would you not trade your ACL for a Brown Super Bowl win? You would.
Oh, absolutely. But what am I using my ACL for? I sit on my butt half the time.
That's true.
Looking at Telegram chat. I don't need my ACL that bad. Okay. Yeah, I would help. Yeah, football gods, take my ACL and give me a Brown Super Bowl, please. You can have it today.
Would you trade your ACL for just a Brown Super Bowl appearance without a guarantee? Okay, maybe they win, maybe they lose, but they go to the Super Bowl.
Just to get in?
Yeah, just to get in.
Yes, I would. Yes.
Okay. Well, okay.
Yes, I would.
Okay, let's keep going down the list. Would you trade it for a conference championship appearance?
And and this is like my ACL doesn't disappear. Like I can repair it, right? I'll be able to.
Yeah, you don't just lack an ACL. You just have torn it, and you can get the surgery to have it repaired.
I can get better. Okay, okay. To get to a conference championship.
Yeah.
You know what? Give me an LCL, a lesser CL, an LCL or a PCL.
Tommy John surgery, or your PCL, in your elbow or something,
Get something like that. I'll tell you this, Show, and I've thought about this because we've had questions like this before.
Okay.
For the Browns to win a Super Bowl, I would give one toe on one of my foot, but I get to pick the toe.
Okay.
That's the stipulation. I'll tell you which one. A lot of people would make the mistake and say pinky toe. That's an amateur move. Rookie mistake.
Okay.
You go for the one in. You go for like the ring toe. The one in between, because you need the pinky and big toe to balance. The middle one's doing nothing next to the baby toe.
All right, I guess that makes sense.
You're not going to look great in sandals, but you're going to have a Super Bowl. You're going to have a Super Bowl win as a fan. So I would give my the one toe in from the pinky toe for a Brown Super Bowl. That's as far as I would.
That's as far. Okay. What about two toes? Or what about a toe off each foot?
No, that's good. You know what? I'll give you a toe and an ACL.
Okay, all right. I like it. Now we're really getting into the nitty gritty of what Andy would give up for a Browns Super Bowl. Hey, look, I've had it on good authority that if the Browns win the Super Bowl, at any point while we're still working together, you will deliver a pizza to someone in the GTA. We live in the GTA in Toronto, Ontario. Around the GTA in Ontario here. Which is the larger Toronto area, and Andy's gonna personally deliver a pizza to someone who someone, I don't know who, but someone there.
You see what Podcast Alli on Twitch wrote? He said, "I can get you a toe by 4:00."
I'm like 98% sure Podcast Alli is Dean. So Dean, look, hey man, if you need, if you can spare a toe, well, Andy will take it. He'll take it.
Listen, Dean's got a toe guy. You know, I got a pizza.
I believe
guy,
that.
Got a toe guy.
Yeah, I believe that. Look, Dean, I'm of all the people we know at UFF Sports, I'm convinced that Jamie and Dean, between the two of them, they can get us literally anything we want. Literally anything we want.
They got a toe guy.
Yeah.
I just love that. I can get you a toe by 4. All right.
I love it.
You know, do we call the bluff? I don't know. I don't know whose toe it's going to be. But no, you're right. That is the agreement. If the Browns win the Super Bowl, when they win the Super Bowl, I will drive and deliver a Domino's pizza to one of our listeners and viewers that live in the greater Toronto area. Just as a heads up.
I'm just pulling up the image here, Andy, of Deshaun Watson speaking to Baker Mayfield. I don't know when this picture was taken, but I gotta imagine it was like it must have been at least 2 seasons ago, right? Not
2020.
Yeah, 2020. Because that would have been the last time Deshaun Watson actually played football, right? So at the very least, then, and maybe even before. But I feel like capturing this image today carries some like a different kind of, like, if you had asked me to caption this image like 3 weeks ago, I'd have been like, I wonder what they're saying to each other. And then now it's like Deshaun's like, hey, where's a good? Can I buy your house, Baker, when you get shipped off to Cleveland or something like that?
Well, there's a great Baker does the progressive at home with Baker Mayfield. Right. So there's a great I retweeted. There's a great one where in one of the commercials he's having somebody like house sit for him, and so they just superimpose Deshaun Watson's head, and it fits. He's like, yeah, so this is all here. So he's like, yeah, lock up, and I'm like, Baker, don't go. Oh, I have to ask, what am I going to do with all this stuff? Look, you can't see it on camera. I got this beautiful on-card autograph, Baker Mayfield.
Oh yeah,
look at that.
How much did you pay for that card? Beautiful. How much did you pay for that one?
You know what? I'd have to look on my eBay account. I forget because I buy a lot. Anybody listen? Nate Pierce, I got a jersey patch auto. Blue Jays. Come on, Nate.
Hawking your Nate
Pierce
card.
I got Alec Manoah as well. But yeah, Baker, I got a collectible piece with a football where it's like his rookie Baker Mayfield broke. People forget that. Broken set for the rookie passing touchdown record, so I got that.
Right.
I got a Pop Funko thing. I don't know what I'm going to do with all my things.
You throw it in the garbage. Is what you have to do it now. Andy, look, you're gonna, as soon as the season starts, right? Because here's what's going to happen. This is what I'm very much looking forward to happening this year. Okay, the Browns, Deshaun Watson's going to get suspended probably for 8 games. Let's say 8 games. Let's just throw the number out there and let's settle on it for the sake of this conversation. 8 games, right? Watson suspended for 8 games. Maybe Baker Mayfield, let's say he doesn't get traded. So the 3 QBs on the roster are Watson, Baker, and Jacoby Brissett, right? So they signed Brissett as insurance, assuming Baker's going to get traded. But let's say there is no market for Baker. Apparently the Panthers are out on Baker. I guess Seattle, like we were talking about before, could be a destination for Baker, but we don't know for sure, right? Yeah. Let's just say he remains on the roster come September, and he's disgruntled Baker Mayfield, the non-adult, according to the Browns organization, Baker Mayfield is still on the roster. In reality, he probably won't ever play for them again. But let's say he has a change of heart between now and September. What'll happen is Baker Mayfield, instead of Jacoby Brissett, will be the starter. He will ball out for 8 games. He will have an MVP-like run for 8 games. Deshaun Watson will come back. They'll trade Baker to some QB-needy team, and then Deshaun Watson will be terrible. He'll be awful. And then
we'll get all the picks.
Oh, I can't wait.
Well, we'll get all our first-round picks back, just like in the draft. Get all the picks back.
Just like Sonny.
Listen, the Browns needed Sonny Weaver Jr. on that deal. They gave 6 draft picks and all that money to Deshaun. You need that draft day movie where Sonny Weaver's like, I want all my picks back in David Putney because I feel like it. I swear, if they would have got a punt returner with it, like the equivalent of what would have been a David Putney, I would have peed myself.
I know.
That would have been amazing.
I still can't believe Draft Day is your favorite movie.
You know what? I'll tell you this. Hold on.
Oh God.
I got all sorts of knickknacks back here.
I know.
I got this. Now this I got when Draft Day came out.
Okay.
And we went to, it was premiering. I went and saw it with my dad.
Right.
And we had lunch, and at the restaurant by the theater, they were giving out Draft Day poster things with the Kevin Costner. And now I didn't do this, but it has like, you could turn it into one of those like football games. You flick the football. But I never did it because it's so cool. So you have Draft Day. And on top of that, it's a great, I don't know why they gave all this up, but I got this and a Draft Day shirt, which I still wear on Draft Day. Well, I'm going to have to take that to Vegas. I'm going to wear my Draft Day shirt.
You should actually, yeah. Every year. Idea.
I got like too stylish in Vegas, so I got to be pop and not have a 10-year-old shirt.
Draft Day. I can't believe that movie.
So good.
Yeah, it is. You know what? In all seriousness, it actually is a pretty good movie. Is it my favorite football movie of all time?
Yes.
You know,
what's better?
Ooh, it's a good one. I like The Replacements. I'm a big fan of The Replacements with Keanu Reeves. A big fan of that movie. Hard to go away from Rudy, right? Hard to not pick Rudy. That's a pretty good one. Remember the Titans. I know it's kind of like a children's movie, kind of, sort of, but I still do like Remember the Titans.
It's a good movie.
It is a good movie, and any movie with Denzel Washington, I will simp for.
What's the Mark Wahlberg one? With the Eagles, Invincible.
Yes, that's another really good one. Yeah, that's a really fantastic. There are a lot of really good ones. Oh, and what's the one with Jamie Foxx and Al Pacino? Any Given Sunday. Any Given Sunday. Those are, see, like, I mean, look, there's a lot of competition for the speech that Al Pacino gives at the end of Draft Day, unparalleled. Ooh, or pardon me, at the end of Any Given Sunday, unparalleled. So good.
That's all you need to know, right there. That's
Next time you know what, Andy, when you guys do the draft thing in Vegas, you should, like, when you're on the air, you should take up a little piece of paper and fold it and be like, like the thing, it's like whatever that guy's name was, whatever.
Devonte Mack.
No matter what. Yeah, I was trying to remember his name. Devonte Mack. Just take it out of your pocket and just show it to the camera.
I literally, and I since that movie came out, I do that every year for the Browns pick, and I put it out on social media and after the draft, and then they never pick who I want. But you know what's funny? In the Baker Mayfield year, I had written down Sam Darnold no matter what. So I was wrong. Dead wrong. Listen, at least Baker wins you a playoff game and doesn't see ghosts. But that's a perfect example where it depends, and we'll see that in this draft as well. It depends so much on landing spot.
Yeah.
What happens if Sam Darnold got drafted by the Buffalo Bills with their security, their stability?
Yeah.
Sam Darnold, I bet you, he wouldn't be like Josh Allen, but he would have been a lot better. What if Josh Allen, who was people forget, was the rawest of those top quarterbacks, highest ceiling, biggest bust factor? What if he went to the New York Jets? I bet you Josh Allen would be out of the league or a backup. Or in a Mitch Trubisky type situation.
Yeah, probably. Okay, that seems pretty. Yeah, the Mitch Trubisky type situation where he was like moderately successful, but not like not blowing the doors off of any fantasy stuff or real life stuff. Yeah, you're probably right, because I mean Josh Allen. Remember was he a rookie or in his second year? But they played the Texans in the playoffs, and then he like lost his mind on national television. Like, remember he tried to he lateraled the ball to nobody like on a run where he just kind of like it just looked like he just hucked the ball into this wide open space, and I think they lucked out. I don't know. I don't think the Texans recovered that ball, but boy, I mean, like the Josh Allen of that year is much different from the Josh Allen we just saw in 2021.
Well, that was a case going into that following year show. It was, okay, we know Josh Allen can put up numbers. Fantasy football, you want him on your team.
Yeah.
But what could he do in the playoffs? And then he did amazing. It showed growth. It continued the Josh Allen trend of steady growth ever since the Senior Bowl when he was entering the NFL. And then he balled out and was just part of the great. I think without a shadow of a doubt, the most exciting NFL playoff game in history against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
At least the most exciting fourth quarter and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're always like you always like never want to be like the prisoner of the moment, like say, recency bias. But honestly, like you and I spoke to many people in the industry, like in the immediate aftermath of, I guess it was that game, like not just that night, but like in the following week. And boy, like so many of the people who have been around the NFL for years had been saying stuff like that was, that's the best display of quarterbacking I'd ever seen. And I know a lot of the decisions around the taking the field goal or that letting the way they defended Hill and Kelsey at the end of the game and all that stuff. I think that that did rub some people the wrong way, but ultimately, yeah, I think. It was that was just one wild game. Where do you like? I think I'd seen who did the Bills sign in free agency this year at tight end? They signed. Oh, I think it was O.J. Howard. I think they signed to a 1-year deal. It's funny, right? Because I feel like Dawson Knox,
Miller and O.J. Howard.
That's right. Von Miller was the big signing on defense, and O.J. I think was it's like a giant signing, but I mean he's still a very talented player, right? Yeah. Do you expect the O.J. Howard signing from a fantasy perspective to eat into Dawson Knox shares at all? Because Dawson Knox, I think he was a top 10 tight end this year, maybe even higher this past season, right? And I just feel like O.J. Howard could take a little bit of that away, possibly. I mean, there's no chance it hurts Josh Allen, but I mean, could it hurt a Stephon Diggs? His stats were like a teensy bit down from the year prior, right? I mean, could it hurt? I don't know, like Isaiah McKenzie. I know they released Cole Beasley, so maybe he'll just fill in the Cole Beasley role. But I'm just curious where you fall on the fantasy value of the various Buffalo Bills, offensive pieces, let's call them, now that OJ is there. And remember too, JD McKissick was gonna sign with the Bills and then he didn't. He like reneged on the deal. I don't want to do that. So he went back to Washington. So I was afraid the McKissick deal was gonna impact Devin Singletary a little bit, but maybe not anymore, right?
Maybe not so much. And first of all, we got Collins21 on Twitch.
Ooh.
Saying who's it? That's right, Collins21. Andy's back on Twitch, baby. I'm back. This is 2019. So hey to Collins21. Guys, hey, if you're watching, give us a follow. Hit us up. Make sure you're following us here. Lots of great content on Ultimate Fantasy Sports here on Twitch. But the O.J. Howard, I always have loved the potential of O.J. Howard. I've always loved the idea of, it's kind of like a white Christmas. You always love the idea of like a beautiful snowy Christmas day until you have to go out and shovel it. And that's kind of what I feel like.
I live in a condo, Andy. I don't have to shovel snow. I live in a condo.
Oh, you live in the same condo complex that I did when I was.
That's right.
When I was young. Looks wistfully off.
25 years ago, yeah.
48 years ago, yes. When I was 40, then no. I'm ageless all at the same time. But yeah, the O.J. Howard bit, like, I think what we end up seeing, Joe, is probably something along the lines of O.J. Howard gets 2 to 3 catches a game. I think that's what we see. I don't see him taking anything tremendously away from Dawson Knox. This will be interesting, though, with the Bills' offense, because Brian Daboll was that steadying, guiding force for Josh Allen since he entered the league. Well, he's gone. So what are we going to see? I would think you would want to keep the offense as closely to what it is now because of, they're really good at it.
Yeah.
But do we see, because Dawson Knox this past year show was the first time that we saw a tight end incorporated in a significant way into that Buffalo offense. So do they now try to work in 2? Do they look to somebody else as that speedy, zippy slot guy to replace Beasley? Or like you said, could it be Howard? I'm just getting the gut feeling. I'm feeling like, 2-3 catches a game for 40 yards and he ends up with like 5 touchdowns or something like that and snakes you a couple weeks. But I don't think he's standalone fantasy relevant. He's
going to be like the Jimmy Graham of the Buffalo Bills. That's what's going to happen. It's going to, how Jimmy Graham would come in and it's like, you're like, oh, Cole Kmet's he's the guy now. He's the guy. Yeah. And then like, then the year will end and Jimmy Graham will have what? Like, I don't know, 8 touchdowns and like 120 yards by the end of the year. It's ridiculous, man.
That's right. Yeah. It's the Jimmy Graham factor was so terrible last year because you're right. It's like Cole Kmet, and then it's not like the Bears were racking up touchdowns. They were quite valuable. Oof. You want to, So I what's Cole Kmet going to do this year? Speaking of tight ends, that's interesting with Justin Fields. What does that look like? Jamie, our buddy Jamie Thomas says, "Boo to the guy in the Patriots gear." Jamie is a Dolphins fan, and
Jamie, when will it be? Jamie, when will it be my turn? When will it be the Patriots' turn? It's been what a drought it's been. My goodness, Andy, God, when will it be New England's turn?
The worst. Never again. Never. And yeah, like Don said, like Don 21 said, just to follow the channel. See the little heart? Click that. You see the little bell? You click that. You're on your way. You're feeling good, and you'll be able to keep not just football, all the different sports in UFF sports. But yeah, like if we look at, you know what? Let's take a look at your Patriots for a moment.
Sure.
And look at what we were expecting coming into this year with Hunter Henry, with the rookie and McCorkle Jones. Y'all know that's his real name, McCorkle?
Fantastic middle name. What a great name.
Terrible name. Terrible name. I hate it. I hate it as much as those reversible leaf jerseys. McCorkle. Someone made a conscious effort to call you McCorkle. Okay.
It's true.
That's fine. But he goes by Mac, and he did a nice job. Did a nice job as a rookie. And now, I wonder, year 2, we see quarterbacks progress in certain areas and regress as teams figure them out. But what did the tight ends look like there? We had Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Now, Jonnu got injured, and Hunter Henry he wasn't a top 12 fantasy guy.
At the position, yeah. He was so touchdown dependent. Like, if he wasn't catching you a touchdown, you were getting basically 0 fantasy points. Or maybe not 0. Like, if you were in a PPR league, for example, a full PPR league, and you had a Hunter Henry in your lineup, if he didn't catch a touchdown, you were getting like 3 or 5 points from him, right? Which still it's hilarious because 5 points from a tight end on a weekly basis is probably enough to make you a top 15 tight end on the season, which is absurd. Yeah, like the positional scarcity is a real thing, and especially in the UFAFL too, right? I mean, there's like it's like the real NFL. So when you get out of the top like 15 positions, you're really like scraping the bottom of the barrel. But at the same time, even though positional scarcity is real for all positions, for the tight end spot, oh my goodness! Like I'm telling you though, man, I still think Hunter Henry is going to be better this coming season because now they know how they're going to use him. I don't know if he blocks all that much, right? But I don't know. Fantasy wise, Patriots, are there that many fantasy relevant options on the Patriots?
No.
Like, no. Like, Damian Harris might be the only one, and you're still drafting Damian Harris in a redraft league in, like, what? Like the 7th or 8th round? Or maybe
are you
later?
In the chat room here, Show? We're getting booed out of the building for Patriots
Boo to you guys.
Wait. Are they saying boo or boo earns?
Boo
earns. Which one? Boo. Hey, this is all you need to know, folks. You UFFsports.com.
Yeah.
Get yourself one of these mugs, shirts, reversible. Oh, it's the quality show. There's so much water in here. So much.
Water, sure, Andy. Yeah, sure.
I swear.
It's after 6 p.m. Eastern, or almost 7 p.m. Water, yeah, okay.
Still a little early for the bourbon, but we'll get there. We'll get there. You know what, Joe? Let's stick with the tight ends, but go to how a trade impacts that.
Yeah.
What does the Davante Adams to the Raiders do to Darren Waller?
Okay.
What happens there? Because now Darren Waller was banged up last year. Guy's got all the talent in the world. If Davante Adams wasn't there, he would still be my number 2 ranked tight end. But what does Davante Adams do, who demands the football for obvious reasons because he's incredible?
Mm-hmm. What
does that do for Darren Waller's show? Because we could see a couple different ways. We could see it benefit Waller because now you can't put top coverage on Darren Waller. You've got Davante Adams. Does that help him? Or does Derek Carr feel he has to force feed the ball and try to be Aaron Rodgers and get it to him all the time? And that hurts him and my guy, Hunter Renfrow.
I feel like, well, first of all, I feel like the Davante Adams arrival in, not Oakland, Vegas, in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, I think we can safely say the days of rostering guys, like or at least using them to a great degree, like Bryan Edwards and Foster Moreau, who I still think the island of Foster Moreau is still one of my favorite potential fantasy names ever for redraft leagues. But either way, Moreau and Edwards probably done, right? It's done with those two guys.
I got a Bryan Edwards rookie.
Do you really?
Blue Prism. I was bullish on him, Show. I do not think that's going to pay off.
I hope you didn't pay. I hope you didn't pay too much for the Bryan Edwards.
No, you know what? That was in a pack, but it's a 1 of 49. Bryan Edwards blue prism, but yeah, I don't think that's. I'm with you. Him and Moreau are just. You got Davante Adams and Darren Waller. Hello.
And Kenyon Drake is there too, right? But I mean, he was like the splits on Drake in terms of like efficiency, in terms of how, like in terms of the amount of touches he got on a game-to-game basis versus how many fantasy points he was giving you as a fantasy owner were insane, right? Like it was the most, he had to be one of the most efficient players in like the history of fantasy football, where he touched the ball like 15 times and get like 45 points or something like that. But then the year went on, and I think Josh Jacobs had been injured and he was sick, I think a little bit. I don't know if it was COVID or a non-COVID illness, but either way, he wasn't available for a little while. So when he was available, like 99% of the touches for players out of the backfield were going to Josh Jacobs, right? So Josh Jacobs I don't think his usage, maybe some of the pass catching for Jacobs, maybe that decreases a little bit, but I really do think of the options you mentioned. I think Darren Waller, if he can stay healthy, because last year was just a snake bit year for Waller when it comes to injury. But Hunter Renfrow is the guy I legitimately am a little concerned about. Like I know you're a big, like you said, you're a big Hunter Renfrow guy, but I just feel like if Renfrow has to compete with, like, he is still going to be existing in that like short to intermediate passing game range, but I mean, like you said, will Derek Carr just sling it downfield to Davante Adams on first, second, and third down, and then maybe occasionally look Darren Waller's way? It's definitely possible.
He probably should. And the reason Hunter Renfrow emerged so much was because, like we just said, Darren Waller was injured and not 100%. You were either going running back, an unreliable receiver who couldn't get separation, or Hunter Renfrow. Yeah. And he would just dink and dunk his way to Hunter Renfrow all day, and he was a PPR fantasy dream. Ooh. You could have got him off waivers. He helped get teams to the playoffs and deep in the playoffs with his production. So I'm with you, Show. I think Hunter Renfrow probably is hurt the most by Davante Adams coming in. And then with Davante Adams overall as well, I don't know, like, it'll be a dip just because of the arm talent of Aaron Rodgers is unmatched. But still, Derek Carr put up a ton of points. There he is. Put up a ton of points for the Raiders, and I don't think he gets enough credit for how he is able to distribute the football.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Derek Carr, now that he gets to throw this guy, I think I have no real qualms with that. I think Derek Carr is like is he a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? Maybe not, right? But does he exist in that next tier? Probably, I would say, right? I think he probably gets crapped on a little too much. Unfairly, right? He also looks like he wears eyeliner all the time, which I think is which is very impressive. He must have like the thickest eyelashes like in the whole world. But Derek Carr, yeah, I'm on board with you, man. He has had passing yardage wise, not a ton of passing touchdowns, but he has thrown like a ridiculous amount of passing yards to start the seasons in the last 3 straight years. Like I don't even remember the last time he was under 4,000 yards passing. Sure, is a part of that just the new world of the NFL? Yeah, probably. But I mean, he's also like, I don't know, he probably gets crapped on more than he should, right?
I think so. And he went over 4,800 yards last year, but right. I believe only 23 touchdowns. And that's the number that if you're the Raiders, you need to see spike. That 4,800 yards is great. 23 touchdowns, not nearly enough. You have 4,800 yards. If I were to ask you what you think, you'd say what, at least 30, maybe 35 touchdowns in that ballpark.
Probably.
But he didn't have, like I said, I love Hunter Renfrow, but the guy was dink and dunk, and then you sort of stop before the end zone.
Right.
So now you got Davante Adams. Are we going to see that? If Derek Carr can up his passing touchdowns and keep the interceptions maybe to like 10 or 11, cut those down a little bit. If he can get to even 30, I think you see the Raiders as wild card contenders. That whole AFC West show, like, could you see, like, could every team make the playoffs?
You know, I was thinking about this earlier, right? Because I guess now that there are 7, Issy Jamie, Carr is better than Mac Jones. You're probably not wrong, but Carr's better than, or Mac Jones is better than Tua, Jamie. Ooh, how do you like that? But Battle of the Alabama QBs. Ooh, give me some Mac Jones.
Oh boy, Jamie.
When it comes, look, the Patriots are not going to make the playoffs this year, right? There's almost, I would say it's not 0%, but it's pretty low, right? It's like it's a pretty low chance because, like we were talking about, right? Could all the teams from the AFC West make the playoffs? Absolutely. You know what? There's a real chance that every team from the AFC North could, in a perfect world, make the playoffs as well, which is crazy, right? Because I guess maybe Pittsburgh's still a little higher than Cleveland, Andy. I don't know, even with Mitch Trubisky. I don't know.
And squarehead Mason Rudolph. And good for you, Jeannie Bouchard. Jeannie dumped his ass. Good.
Mason Rudolph is never going to see the field. He's never going to play.
How is he on a roster? He's terrible. Mason Rudolph.
Man. Is he the one who
Big
got into the fight
back.
with Myles Garrett? It was Mason Rudolph, right? Yeah. Okay.
And Myles Garrett rightfully smashed him on his big, fat, thick head. It didn't even probably made him starter. Mason Rudolph.
Oh, good heavens! You'll never let that go, eh?
Never.
I hope at some point, honestly, Mason Rudolph plays for the Browns. I hope that happens. I really sincerely hope it does. But look, but there's a world where all 4 teams from the AFC North make the playoffs. There are only 7 teams per conference will make the playoffs, right? You have the number 1 overall seed, then it's like 2v7, 3v6, 4v5. Yeah. And so that means the division winner goes, and then 3 teams go as well. So in theory, all 3 teams could be from the same division. But if we live in the world where 1 team from the AFC West, 1 team from the AFC North win their divisions, that leaves 3 teams from each division that could make the playoffs, and only 3. That's 6 teams overall, and only 3 of them are making the playoffs, right? So and then the Bills are probably going to win the AFC East. Could the Dolphins win be in a wild card position at the end of the season? Maybe, right? In the AFC, I guess what is it? The AFC South, you got the Colts probably going to win the division, but could the Titans make a push there? Probably, right? So
if healthy, yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to have a lot of teams vying for these 3 spots. It's going to be chaos this year. It's going to be sheer chaos, and I'm looking forward to it.
The chat room is on fire. Tony, Rick Rock 369. Hey, Tony, how's it going? Now, Tony, that's a great question. Am I wearing a Packers jersey? Incorrect. I only wear Cleveland Browns for football, but my neighbor is from South Africa, and he came back, and he actually got me. I'll see if I can pop it up here.
Stand up a little bit.
It's a rugby jersey.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a South Africa rugby jersey with the Springboks. Go Springboks. Who's with me? Let's go.
Yeah.
Go Springboks. But it's an official. I just learned a Springbok apparently is like a South African type of deer antelope figure.
There you go.
Yeah. That's good. But it's great jersey. Fits very well.
That's
Makes
pretty cool.
The shoulders pop. Don't know if you can appreciate that.
Do you know more about the Springboks or the NC Dinos from the KBO, Andy?
Oh, I love the So, folks, when we were with Joe and I during the COVID and all that, the sports were lean for sports talk radio, and so we adopted a Korean baseball team, right? And
yeah. I'm pretty sure they won the championship that year. You know that, right? They won the KBO that season.
They had cool jerseys, but we wanted to get a shirt, but it would be like with the shipping from Korea,
it was like $100.
It would have been like $100 for like a T-shirt. We're like, it's not that funny.
Yeah.
It's not. There's funny, and then there's $100. It wasn't $100.
Yeah, exactly. Few things, unless I'm getting paid for it, are $100 funny.
Or $100 funny.
Yeah.
You know what? We're going to admire them from afar. I would say I know equally the amount because I couldn't name you a player from either team yet.
Tony says we're cheap media guys, Andy. You know what? It's true. I can own that. I was gonna cuss a little bit. I'm not sure if we are allowed to cuss on Twitch, but either way, we are cheap bleep holes. Yes.
Absolutely. It's listen.
Hungarian
show. I used to bet. Oh yeah, Dean's a degenerate. I love it. Hungarian volleyball. Remember we were doing shows, and there was like we would look at the most ridiculous ones. There was like you could bet on Russian table tennis.
Right, that's you actually made some correct bets on the Russian table tennis. You did. Your credit. Like it was. I
got an insider.
Oh man. Jeez,
Russian table tennis.
I think I bet on a couple of online chess matches during the early stages of the pandemic.
Really?
Online, that's some true degenerate stuff. And then I also bet on online. If anyone's played the video game Rocket League, actually on Twitch they do a lot of Rocket League streams. And if you're not, are you familiar with Rocket League, Andy, at all?
No.
Rocket League
racing game.
The best way I can explain it is you pilot a car, right? You drive/pilot this car, and you play soccer inside your car. So you can play 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, I think 4v4, and it's just like you're hitting, and it's like a physics game. So like the ball, it's bounce all over the arena. Anyway, so it's a very popular esport, like a very very popular esport.
That's kind of cool, actually.
And a lot of YouTubers and Twitch streamers cover Rocket League. So I was betting like a degenerate betting on Rocket League outcomes.
Were you actually analyzing like, oh yeah, player 4. That's the one.
See, honestly, man, like the
They're
meta
due.
like the meta game for Rocket League, you should see some of the stuff. It's like people are like, oh, you have to change your camera angles to this, and you have to be able to do this and that, and like when you get up to the diamond tiers, and it's crazy. Like there's a whole other world out there for esports that like you and I will probably never touch.
Thank goodness, real sports are back,
thank
which
God.
means fantasy sports are back too. And it's like, man, those were some. We had to really get the creative juices going with what to talk about during the pandemic show. But man, like you know what? If we look here, maybe we look to wrap in a few minutes here.
Yeah.
But the other NFL news and movement, which I don't know if it's necessarily getting enough play because of all the other news, but Carson Wentz to Washington.
Okay.
If Carson Wentz, now look, Taylor Heineke was a fun little ride. He's a bit of a wild man. But for Carson Wentz, if he can keep those 2 ankles healthy and not injure them again, we saw a stretch in Indy. I believe it was over 8 games, which is half a year. We saw him throw like no touchdowns, couple touchdowns a game, no interceptions, be a stage above a game manager. He's mobile enough where he can roll out and make plays. This could sadly be the best quarterback that Terry McLaurin has ever had.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, which is kind of sad. Isn't that sad? Like that.
The fantasy possibility for Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
So if you have him healthy enough, and you can have him distribute the football in a safe-ish way, I think you have to upgrade the fantasy. At least have a higher fantasy outlook show on Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson than we did going into last year, where it was going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick and then Taylor Heineke, and then Fitzpatrick blew out, what was it, his knee or something in game 1.
Yeah, J.D. McKissic is another name that really I'm fascinated by, because Antonio Gibson, obviously, he's phenomenal. He does a fantastic job there. I mean, remember you played last year with the stress fracture in his shin, like for most of the year. I would just cry walking around if I had a stress fracture in my shin. And this guy was playing football, getting hit by like 300-pound human beings on a regular basis.
Planting.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's not just a hit show.
Ugh.
He makes his living off of planting and cutting.
Yeah.
And you're doing that with a stress fracture. Tony, Rick Rock 369 said, you should have brought Baker on and give him a job. Stop it, Tony. Baker's and listen, until Baker is officially out of a Browns uniform, he's still my guy. After that, I'll keep his stuff as, remembrance of the good times of beating Pittsburgh, my Cleveland Maserati shirt with the play designed out when they made the playoffs to beat Pittsburgh and then beat them again, and that beautiful gift which I've saved on my phone, and Ben Roethlisberger crying, the tears. Whenever I'm feeling a little down, I'll put that up, puts a smile on my face. Big Ben Roethlisberger.
I believe that. I fully believe that for that last who did he play? They played the Chiefs. The Steelers-Chiefs was Big Ben's final game, right, in the playoffs. And I won some nice money on that because I bet on the over on pass attempts for Big Ben, and it hit easiest over hit in my life. Yeah. You knew if that was going to be Big Ben's final game, he was going to sling that ball like a 50+ times, and he did. So thank you for that, Big Ben, making me some money in your final game. But yeah, I don't know, Big Ben. I could just see you at the end of that game as he trudges off the field, losing by. I mean, the game ended up being close in the end because the Chiefs were up by so much for most of the game. But he trudges off the field. I could just see you just doing the Eli, giving the double birds to the screen.
So I swear, I'll tell you this. And by the way, folks, hey, if you're watching just new to the channel, click the subscribe button, the little heart button there, little bell notification. Hit us up. Lots of great content coming. I didn't even mean or plan this out. It was just it's an honest reaction. My honest reaction was the game ended and the broadcast was just falling over themselves for Ben Roethlisberger. Did you know Ben Roethlisberger ties his shoes too? Did you know he ties it with he did? It was driving me nuts. So I'm glad they lost. But the game ended, and I swear to you, I had a little sip of bourbon in my hand. I took a sip. The game ended. Without even thinking, double bird flip, and I said, bleep you, Ben Roethlisberger. And then I went back to my work, and I was alone, and I just like a maniac. I just started laughing to myself, like, that's amazing, because I didn't even plan on doing it. Just bleep you, Ben Roethlisberger, double minute to a TV screen, sip of bourbon, and then went back to work. I was like, yep, That's how I'm glad it ended for him.
And now, you know what, Andy? And now the Browns have a quarterback that's 1,000 times worse.
No, listen.
Allegedly, he don't get in trouble.
Oh, personally worse. Yes. Could be a monster. Yeah, that's boy, we'll have to see how that one plays out.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
But hey, before we go, real quick, we talked a lot about QBs today. We talked the Deshaun Watson thing. We talked about Baker Mayfield. We talked about Matt Ryan. We just talked about Carson Wentz.
Tony can't stand Ben either. Sorry, Joe. Tony can't stand Ben.
Good.
There you go, Tony.
Good.
Tony's got a Cleveland Brown hat on too. I converted all the UFF sports guys who went to Cleveland for the American Football Legends League auction. Went to a Browns game. They all won. They're all parked. Beautiful. Sorry, Joe.
Hop back on the wagon. Hop back on the Patriots wagon. The best time was yesterday. The second best time is today, Andy. All right.
Sorry, go on.
Oh boy. Well, anyway, so we did a lot of QB talk, right? Before we go, we did some wide receiver talk with Devonte Adams to the Raiders. The fallout of that, Packers fallout of that. I have no idea who Aaron Rodgers is throwing the ball to. I would imagine the Packers are going to draft a wide receiver as highly as humanly possible, right? Like if Chris Olave is there in the late first round, I gotta imagine the Packers are taking him or whoever the highest available wide receiver is. Because if not, the wide receivers he's throwing the ball to will be, I guess MVS and Alan Lazard. And I mean, those guys are good, but are they
Randall Cobb?
Yeah, are these guys? Are they wide receiver one material? Probably not, right? So I don't know.
No, and here's the thing, Joe. The Packers now. I'd have to look up the exact stat. If they did draft one in the first round, it would have been a million years ago. Right. But there's the stat. They either never have or haven't in X number of years drafted a first round wide receiver.
Jordy Nelson and Donald Driver are two of their biggest named wide receivers of the last 20 years. And I could be wrong, but I don't think either of them were drafted in the first round. I don't believe so.
Yeah. I think you're right. But Joe, this is why that Packers front office, super sloppy and very underwhelming. Yeah. Think about the wasted draft capital you have with Jordan Love sitting on the bench. Jordan Love. And then your third round pick a couple years ago, you drafted a blocking tight end where you had wide receivers. Yeah. You drafted A.J. Dillon, who's fine, but you didn't need a backup running back at that point. And you let all these this is another deep wide receiver class. So I'm with you. If you're the Packers, you better draft a damn wide receiver. Otherwise, I don't know why Aaron Rodgers came back at all outside of the millions of dollars.
Yeah, hundreds of millions of dollars. That's why he came back.
Outside of that,
it's true. The fantasy value of all those guys. I mean, maybe volume wise, if they don't draft a wide receiver in the first or second round, volume wise, it would be hard for Valdez-Scantling or Lazard to not be fantasy valuable, right? But in terms of it wouldn't be very efficient. You'd just be really hoping that they just get a crap ton of passes thrown their way. I feel like the obvious recipient, this is not a hot take or anything, but Aaron Jones himself is probably the biggest recipient or the biggest, I guess the biggest uptick, let's say, in fantasy value, because he was already catching a ton of passes, and I feel like they're going to use him even more as a wide receiver, split him out wide, and PPR leagues, you're going to love having someone like Aaron Jones on your roster.
What about little Funyun Tunyon? Bring a little Robert Tunyon back from injury.
Maybe.
Right? He catches 8 balls and all 8 are touchdowns. Yeah. That touchdown ratio was stupid 2 years ago.
Before we go,
unsustainable.
Also, Allen Robinson to the Rams, Andy. What do you think? I mean, Robert Woods was traded to the Titans. So I believe it was for a 6th round pick. So he's gone. Maybe that move will help out AJ Brown in Tennessee, assuming Woods is healthy for the beginning of the year, of course. Right? He'll probably do what Julio couldn't do. Obviously, Julio, we talked about it, but Julio at the end of his career, right? But Allen Robinson to the Rams, and I don't know. I just feel like replacing Woods and certainly OBJ as well with Allen Robinson, I think can only be a good thing. But I know you have a target on the Rams who you're very high on, whose name is not Cooper Kupp or Allen Robinson.
Yes. No. And you know what, Joe? You look at just that wide receiver core of the Rams, the size. All their top 3 wide receivers are 6'2 plus and 200 pounds plus. They're all really big and really fast as well. So that's just a great with Stafford signing his extension. But this is the guy. Everyone, listen, Cooper Kupp is amazing, and you're going to look to draft Cooper Kupp, obviously. Allen Robinson is on a prove-it situation because he sucked last year, and I don't think it was his fault in Chicago. The guy you're going to watch is Van Jefferson, Joe. I'm telling you, Van Jefferson, if that guy stays healthy, I made this bold take on our Sportsnet fantasy show last Sunday, and I'll stick with it.
All right.
I think Van Jefferson finishes with better statistics and has a better fantasy year than Allen Robinson. I think this is Van Jefferson's year.
Okay. All right. I think it's definitely possible, right? I've said this to you before. I'm a big fan of Allen Robinson, like going back to his Jacksonville days, and much like we talked, Carson Wentz is probably the best the best quarterback that receiver Terry McLaurin has ever played with. It probably goes without saying that Matthew Stafford is the best quarterback that Allen Robinson has ever played with, right? I mean, who are his quarterbacks? Like Blake Bortles and Andy Dalton and Mitch Trubisky and I mean Justin Fields, sure, but I mean Justin Fields is also a rookie figuring it out, and maybe the new staff in Chicago is better suited to Justin Fields, and I certainly hope so because I like Fields a lot. But I mean, he just wasn't helping out the production, let's say, of Allen Robinson, right? So not
at all, and so I think he'll certainly get a bump up. I wonder if he gets overdrafted. That's why I'm kind of looking. Yeah. I'm lurking towards Van Jefferson. So I think that's going to be somebody maybe overlooked with that Allen Robinson. People lunging for him.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I am looking forward to seeing where he goes. And, you know what? One last one. Juju Smith-Schuster to the Chiefs, Andy. And Juju signing the one-year deal. I think it was made official either yesterday or maybe earlier today. Time is a flat circle. It all runs together. But with Juju Smith-Schuster, Byron Pringle is now with the Bears. We just talked about the Bears, but Pringle is gone. Juju is in. And, hey, look, if he can keep the TikToking to a minimum, hopefully he doesn't, talk to Jackson Mahomes. Hopefully he doesn't, have anything to do with Jackson Mahomes or Patrick Mahomes' wife. He just ignores them completely. I think he'll be okay. I think he'll be okay for sure in KC.
Is there a more unlikable relative of a star athlete in professional sports than Jackson Mahomes right now?
God.
You can have some debate about it, but I think in the end your answer may come back to Jackson Mahomes. That guy is the worst. You just look at him like, I don't know you. I don't want to know you. I don't like you. You're
very popular
awful.
TikToker though. Very popular.
TikTok. You know what? Juju TikTok his ass out of Pittsburgh. That's what Juju did. TikTok his way out of that. But I think this is a tremendous landing spot for him. And fantasy-wise, this is the difference. Byron Pringle had a nice little run. Look, the depth chart of the Chiefs right now is Tyreek Hill, it's Juju, it's McCole Hardman, and then, of course, Travis Kelce you got to consider in a big way. But we know what McCole Hardman is right now. He's a guy who'll run down the field and sometimes will catch a big pass. Juju, you could line up in the slot. You could put him outside too, but you put him in the slot. I just think this is a tremendous fantasy year for Juju, particularly in PPR and half PPR formats, that you could really look to grab him. And this could be a case where he gets overlooked because of all the other big names, because of all the other movement.
I believe it.
And all of a sudden you see Juju worked in, and heck, would it surprise you? Ends up 5-6 catches a game. Get you 70 something yards maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, I do think he is supremely talented. I mean, we saw a lot with the Steelers. He was catching, I don't know what, he was catching all the balls either behind or at the line of scrimmage, it felt like, and then he'd fall forward for 3 yards in a cloud of dust, right? Part of that obviously had to do with the fact that Big Ben at the end there had a wet noodle for a right arm, right? So if you go from that to playing with Patrick Mahomes, who has an absolute cannon of an arm, I think you'll be okay. So especially if you have someone like Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, both of whom are so talented. Tyreek Hill obviously incredibly fast, the cheetah, right, as they call him. So you have those two guys to take coverage off of Juju. That's going to be a very difficult offense to stop, especially when you include the running game and then the other tertiary assets at wide receiver and so on, right? So yeah, I am very much looking forward to seeing Juju in a KC uniform.
Our buddy Mike Pagano says Corey Coleman signed with the Chiefs. Mike, is that Corey Coleman, the Browns' former first-round bust?
I think so.
Corey Coleman.
I forgot he was still in the NFL.
How is he still employed? Corey Coleman in the NFL. His biggest contribution to Hard Knocks was his shoe collection in one episode where they had the Browns. And then he's like, I want to be traded. And they're like, you are out of here. It was a terrible pick when they made it. One of many first-round flops by my poor Cleveland Browns. Corey Coleman. Look, write this dude. Listen, don't even get cute about anything. Corey Coleman is awful. I would rather take a flyer on Josh Gordon than Corey Coleman. I don't know how he's.
Is he still signed with the Chiefs, Josh Gordon?
As I've seen on the depth chart, last I checked this past week, Josh Gordon is technically still there. He's just done. He might get a touchdown. I hope he stays there just to hopefully keep himself out of trouble. By all accounts, just a tremendous person, with a ton of demons. Actually, I got his autograph there on my Cleveland Browns ball. This is how far he fell. When we went to Cleveland Browns training camp in 2019, they had a bin. You could go into the locker room for the Browns backers, the fans, and you go in and they had like bins of like footballs with different autographs on it. I found one for Josh Gordon. I was like, wow. I was like, oh, this might be a steal. I'm like, oh, how much is it? I'm like, $5. I'm like, whoa. I was like, you know what? Just even if I didn't need it, I was like, just to get an NFL football for $5 is a tremendous deal on its own. I was like, yeah, all right. So I got Josh Gordon's autograph for $5, and then I met Phil Taylor, and I got his tie to all this was that's who the Browns drafted instead of Julio Jones.
Good.
They traded that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Who's the guy who you wanted to get an autograph for at like when you hold the footballs out, right? And like he didn't sign it or whatever. It wasn't it was a Brandon Whedon or something, right? Or no, it was
a kicker, and I didn't let him sign.
That's right. That's what it was.
I didn't allow. Now who was it? Was not Cody Parkey. He was gone there. One of the other stiffs that the Browns had gone through. I forget. He stunk. And so I had at the camp thing. Yeah. So I had the football. I got signed by Bernie Kosar. That's phenomenal. Bernie's the best.
Sure. Yeah.
And the other different autographs, whatever. And then the kicker came, and I'm like, I had cursed
yank the football back out of the crowd.
I put the football back, and they give you a standard piece of paper that sounds like there. And you know what I did afterwards, show? I threw it in the trash, just like where he ended up.
Oh, fantastic! Hey, look, I'm glad Josh Gordon at the very least is still employed. Patriots legend Josh Gordon, I'll say that.
God, all the talent wasted. That dude gave up $200 million of his life for. Sucks.
Hey, before we go, Andy, you know what we plan to talk about the college football league, which we didn't really we wanted to wrap up on. Why don't you explain again like the dates for the college football league to everyone, and the minimum bids and kind of a brief like Cole's Notes version of how it works. Because like I said, I got Quay Walker, Georgia linebacker Quay Walker. I'm very much looking forward to first of all seeing him in the entry auction, but that kind of whetted my appetite for getting involved with like the college football league. So I'm going to do my best to bid on a franchise at the end of April. But why don't you tell everyone how it works?
Awesome, yeah, and it's a great entry point to enter the UFF sports ecosystem world, really, right? The professional world of fantasy sports ownership. That's what the whole system is in all the sports. But for college, what we're doing, this is the completion of the ecosystem, really, show, because we already have the UFAFL, which is the NFL version, the now NFL. Right. We have the American Football Legends League, which is going on now. You can hit that up, check out the stat standings.
Watch Otto Graham throw for like 900 yards. It's great.
Great Eric Dickerson running for it's bananas. It's a what if dream scenario. It's phenomenal. You can check those out, uffsports.com/AFLL, and watch at AFLL.live on YouTube. But the last piece, of course, is we had we had the all-time legends. Now we need the up-and-comers, the college side of it, and that's what the Ultimate College Fantasy Football League is. And it's a very unique league, show, because what it does is the entry point, the minimum bid is just $500. Only 24 franchises being sold. We're having full rosters, 11-11, punter, kicker, bench guys. You have to draft a team's offensive line as well. So offensive line get love in this too, which is very rare. And it's only a $500 entry point to get in. And it's going to run April 26 to 29. And it ties in with our Las Vegas trip, our Super Vegas VIP at the Circa, our NFL draft party package show, because the final day of the college franchise auction is going to be our last day in Vegas on the 29th. So quick side note, if you want to hang out at Circa Las Vegas at Stadium Swim, which is, look it up if you don't know about it. It's crazy. We were there last July. And Legacy Club, which is iconic. They have a glass case of spinning gold bars show instead of Ocean's 11.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know why they have it, but it's incredible.
That's kind of cool. You never mentioned that to me before. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like the start of a heist movie. I can see me and you there, like just going, Indiana Jones, like, look, okay, spinning gold case of gold bars. It's so cool. But that's the VIP package. So you're there, you get your food, drinks, you get to go to these VIP experiences where if you're in Vegas for the draft, where the draft is being held, you're not getting into any party of note anywhere. So you can hit us up there. Again, that's on UFFsports.com, or you email me, Andy at UFFsports.com, whatever. We get you set up. Very limited tickets available.
Yeah.
Very, very limited amount available. But that goes in with the college league. And so what happens is it's a perfect way for scouts to get more involved in our UFF sports ecosystem. So you're a scout, right? You get by the prospects. You just mentioned a couple there. And then instead of just waiting for your prospect to be sold and auctioned off into the NFL, into our UFAFL side, well, now you can have your prospect earn you revenue in the college league for their fantasy points produced. And as a scout, you can buy a team. So if you buy a team and your prospect, you can draft your own players, and then you get 100% of the fantasy revenue on. So it's a really cool spin to it. It's an easier entry point price-wise, and it's a lot more fun because we're opening up the to any player now, not just 2-year eligibility, all college players, freshmen all the way up, to be able to have their fantasy contracts purchased. You earn revenue, and you can win in the college league as well. So it's going to be really cool.
Is it limited to a certain conference?
No, it's all NCAA Division I players are available.
Okay, so so like the Big Ten and the SEC and so on, but just no Div 2 schools and below, right? Just Div 1 schools. Okay.
Yeah, just Division I, which how many players? Like thousands?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, because if you we had this discussion for college basketball, potential college basketball leagues as well. Because if you open it up beyond Div 1 already, like you said, there's like hundreds of schools. If you open it up beyond that, you'll get guys who are like throwing for like 700 yards in like Division 3 schools and like racking up the points, who will like never be in the NFL, right? So yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I am looking forward to that.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it Division 1. And you get the prospect. Guess what? If somebody isn't there and you're a team owner and a scout doesn't know, grab them. It ties that whole world together. We're on the blockchain where you're able to own these fantasy contracts of these players and really show if you own a team in college, if you buy one, there's a couple teams for sale actually in the UFAFL. Right. Buy one there, and then a Legends team. We're going to expand. You could technically be with a player from their college days all the way through to retirement.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's going to be awesome. April 26th to 29th. If you want to check it out, you jump in our Telegram group. It's on Twitter as well, at the UCFFL on Twitter, and at UFFsports.com. Right on the front page, it tells you all about it, and you can register and let us know if you're interested and be one of the 24 one-of-ones of this franchise.
Awesome. Yeah, very much looking forward to that again. Yeah, end of April, look out for the UCFFL franchise auction, and you'll be going on Twitch as well from Vegas. You'll be able to. The end of the auction is usually pretty frenzied, as I understand, right? So especially for franchises. So the 2-minute warning kind of goes, and you see all the bids start to fly in, right? So that's going to be really exciting. As I think too, if you're planning on placing at least a minimum bid, usually ties, like in terms of the draft order, ties go to the person who registers their bid first, right? So if you know you are at least going to place a bid, you don't know what the final amount is, but you know you're going to place a bid, I would suggest as soon as the franchise auction room opens, I would suggest placing your bid right away.
Perfect point. Yeah, because you get your foot in, and then if you end up in a tie, you'll get, because the 36 round player draft is going to be from the highest to lowest final bids. Right. So if there's a tie, and let's say there's 3 people at $500 at the end, where you're going to be drafting 22nd instead of last.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's always good to just keep in the back of your mind, because because I know some people might wait until like the end of the auction and sneak your bid in, but I mean if I've already placed my $500 bid, I did that at as soon as 6 p.m. Eastern or whenever it opens on the very first day, then I'm going to get the higher bid than you. You know what I mean? So that's always something to keep in mind. A way to get a little bit of a higher draft pick over your pals. Well,
you do that, and even as the auction goes on. So let's say you're at 500. I want to go a bit higher, and you place $1,000 bid, and then there's another $1,000 one. Well, since you got your $1,000 franchise bid in first, you still have that priority, so it goes all the way up from that.
Awesome, man. I'm looking forward to that, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in Vegas. And looking forward to seeing all the various franchise owners who join Andy and Jamie and Max and all of those guys in Vegas as well. But this was fun, Andy. We don't do these kinds of shows on Twitch all that much. Maybe we can do it again in a couple of weeks and see where we're at in the NFL offseason. Maybe do some draft talk, right? We did talk a little bit about the quality of quarterbacks. We didn't get much into the wide receivers or tight ends or running backs in this draft class. Certainly all the defensive players.
Ready.
Yeah, Andy has his combine crush. I'm very much looking forward to that. I have I don't know what I'm going to call it, maybe, but someone that I'm looking at as well that I got my eye on. And I think we can talk about that maybe in a couple weeks as we get a little closer to the NFL draft. But this has been fun, man. What are we calling this again? NFL prime time? What do we decide on?
I was thinking primetime football.
Okay, primetime football. I like that. We're going to stick with the name sounds catchy enough. We'll promote it as primetime football here on the Twitch platform. But that's Andy McNamara. I'm Show Alli. Both of us are heads of sports for basketball for me and football for Andy here on the UFF Sports platform. And we will talk to you next week.